but he was able to come on the camera, and I interviewed him. And I also interviewed another young man who was black, who was there, who had his own personal accounts of what happened. I'm not asking people to believe or not believe. I just wanted to get people the information.
Pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan?
A lot of people are talking about this story because, according to the reports, he was a black dude, and he was the only black dude with a few white dudes, and they all came back alive, and he didn't.
We just saw the family release their independent autopsy results yesterday, which were conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, who is the president of the National Medical.
What's going on, everybody? It's a little bit of a sad one today, but welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the tragic death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells. May his soul rest in peace at the bosom of the Almighty Lord. A case that has sparked an enormous amount of discussion online over the past few weeks. Now, one thing I want to make clear right from the start is that I'm not accusing anybody.
My first guest is a civil rights attorney, a former federal prosecutor, and an MS Now legal analyst. He writes the What Matters Now newsletter on Beehive, and you can catch him on his podcast, The Brothers Briefing. He is joined by a former Arizona police officer turned conservative YouTube political commentator and host of the Officer Tatum podcast. Please welcome to the show Charles F. Coleman Jr. and, of course, Officer Brandon Tatum. Good afternoon, fellas. How y'all doing? How's everything?
Blessed.
I'm doing well, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Charles Coleman Jr., let's start off with you. What can you tell us? I mean, the Nolan Wells case has been in the news for nearly 3 weeks now. For those who may not be aware of the case or have not kept up with the facts, just to recap, he was an 18-year-old college football player from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. On July 4th, he and a group of friends traveled by private boat to Horn Island, an uninhabited barrier island off the Mississippi coast. Wells was the only black person on the boat. Wells was last seen on the island around 3 p.m. His friends returned to the mainland without him. And as a result, ultimately, a couple of days later, he was found dead. Charles Coleman Jr., at this particular juncture, what's on your mind in terms of this case? What's missing? What are your thoughts?
Well, Stephen A., we just saw the family release their independent autopsy results yesterday, which were conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, who is the president of the National Medical Association. And those results were inconclusive. They were able to establish that Nolan Wells did not die by accident, that he did not die of natural causes, but at the same time that they were not able to establish that this was a homicide. In fact, those results established that it was not a homicide. Now, one important caveat to note is that the chief medical officer from the state of Mississippi, the sheriff's office, removed the throat from Nolan Wells's autopsy when their autopsy was conducted first. We have not heard the results of the state's autopsy, but we know that when Roger Mitchell examined the body for the family, that the throat and other organs have been removed. So that your listeners understand, that's not abnormal. That is something that takes place normally during the case of an.
Let's say, right? Like, isn't that compromising, like the investigation, removing or tampering with the body? But I want to hear what this guy has to say. It looks like that is standard protocol.
Investigation and of an autopsy. So there's nothing that was wrong there. But at this point, Dr. Roger Mitchell, who did the independent autopsy from the family, has not been able to confirm any sense of foul play as of yet. That was undecided or undecisive. That does not mean that foul play may not have occurred. It just means that the autopsy that was conducted by the family did not show that conclusively. He saw some trauma to, some potential trauma to Nolan Wells's head. That was not something that he was able to explain as being the result of foul play. And we have yet to hear the state's autopsy and what they found or what their findings were. You may recall, and listeners may recall, that initially the sheriff's office said that they had no reason to suspect that foul play was afoot. And what I would say that this autopsy confirms from the family is that while that cannot be certainly confirmed, it still can't be ruled out. So finally, there are 60 witnesses that have been interviewed in the course of this investigation.
I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really hear his justification for why the throat was removed. So Nolan Wells' throat structures and other organs were retained or dissected during the initial state autopsy by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office for ongoing official evaluation, specialized testing, and laboratory investigation. I see. The official state autopsy report, so microscopic findings and toxicology results from the medical examiner's office remain pending. All right. So let's cut back to the clip here. It looks like it's standard operation.
Sheriff's office. There's likely going to be a presentation to the grand jury, and we don't know what the toxicology report will show from Nolan Wells because much of that is in the hands of the state. But as of right now, this is where things stand. And as a former prosecutor, I want to know what the state's autopsy is going to say and what are the witness accounts that they are going to put forward in the grand jury.
Officer Tatum, you personally interviewed, you traveled to Mississippi, from my understanding, to personally interview one of the young men who left the island without Nolan. Why should the public trust whatever account is coming from them right now, in your estimation, based on what you've learned? First things first, I shouldn't say that. First things first, what did you deduce from the conversation you had from one of the friends that was with Nolan Wells? What did you take away from that you'd like the public to know?
Well, Stephen A., I want to make sure this is clear. I actually spoke to all the boys that were being accused. I spoke to family members. I spoke to also their attorneys. It's just that the one young man had the, I wouldn't say courage, because others had reasons why they didn't want to come on the camera, but he was able to come on the camera, and I interviewed him. And I also interviewed another young man who was black, who was there, who had his own personal accounts of what happened. I'm not asking people to believe or not believe. I just wanted to give people the information. So nobody had heard from the young boys. Nobody had heard their accounts. And a lot of misinformation was put out there, some intentionally, some maybe not intentionally, but it was very detrimental and not conducive for the investigation into Nolan Wells' death. It was punitive.
Guys, before I continue here, I just took the liberty to find actually the clip between this Officer Tatum and one of the people that were with Nolan. Apparently his name is Warren. So I'm going to pull this on the screen right away. That's it right here.
Very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan? All right, Warren, we had a chance to get to know each other over the last, 2 days. Went out to Horn Island. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you about a few things, and the things that you've told me have literally blown my mind. But the world haven't had a chance yet to hear your story, to hear Nolan's story through you, through his friend. And it's not just you, it's a bunch of y'all. But, you know, some of the other guys were afraid because of the threats and the violence that's been threatened against their lives and all of the above. But you decided that you wanted to take this bold step and give a statement and, you know, get your side out here. And I want to start at the very beginning of all of this and ask you, what was your relationship like with Nolan? Who was he to you?
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Mm-hmm. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times it was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But
we might have to go to Officer Tatum's YouTube channel to see the full clip. So feel free to go do that. But what I think was actually very interesting there is some of the comments, right? And I want to know what you guys think about it. So someone says, this is a classic chess move by their attorneys. So apparently all those guys that were with him, they've all lawyered up. And so someone is saying, this is a classic chess move by the attorneys. The interviewer is a black man. That makes it seem like, look, we are not racist, in quotes. A lawyer would never allow their clients to speak directly to the media, especially before key facts of an investigation comes out. They only do this to be strategic and to put the narrative they want. Nice try, but I know this game well. This seems even more like a cover-up than ever. Wow. Strong claims indeed.